Today's story is about taking action on an issue of conscience that caused suffering to the protagonist for 7 years and longer regarding her standing with her colleagues. No one knew what really happened except her, and there was a lot of hearsay and ill will surrounding the incidents. That's life, some would say, and that is precisely why I have written this story. It's based on actual events. Names have been changed. There's a price to pay for doing the right thing. Mackay, Queensland, 1999. Haven't you got a fellowship of the College of Ophthalmologists, Alice? Dr. Robin asked me as we were having a coffee together during the clinical meeting for general practitioners. I had just given a presentation as the invited guest speaker. I can see from the flyer that you have an FRACS, Fellowship of the College of Surgeons, but no FRACO, she continued. I used to have a fellowship of the College of Ophthalmologists, FRACO, I replied, but I resigned from the college to do the right thing. My God, Robin retorted, obviously incredulous at the idea. How can anyone do that? Resign from their specialist college after you've worked so hard to get your fellowship in the first place. Took me 8 years of training after graduating in medicine to get my FRACGP, Fellowship of the College of General Practitioners. I'm sure it's just as long and hard to go through the training program to be an eye surgeon and obtain a FRACO. Why on earth would you give it all up? It must have been a bloody good cause. Sure was, I said, or at least I thought it was at the time. Back in 1986, when I finally was granted my FRACO and was registered to practice as an ophthalmologist, I was passionate about teaching eye care to all health professionals, nurses, medical students, doctors, GPs, optometrists and optometry students. The problem with the last two groups was that at the time, fellows of the College of Ophthalmologists were not allowed to teach optometrists or optometry students without express permission from the college, which never came. I just couldn't believe it when I first found this out about College Bylaw number 7. Bylaw number 7 stated, no member shall address or undertake the teaching or instruction of optometrists or undergraduates or students in optometry. Just didn't make sense to me. We, as ophthalmologists, I thought, were meant to be the leaders in eye care for Australia. Surely it was our duty to teach optometrists how to recognise sight-threatening eye conditions and undertake basic eye treatments and to know when to refer a patient to an ophthalmologist for further care. I decided to ignore this bylaw, and when I was invited to lecture at the QUT, Queensland University of Technology School of Optometry in Brisbane in 1987, I jumped at the chance. I was invited to deliver all the lectures in glaucoma for the optometry students. Glaucoma, as you know, Robin, is a silent blinding condition. It often has no symptoms for the patient until they have already lost a significant portion of their vision. We can't bring back the sight once it's lost from glaucoma, and it often ends in blindness if undiagnosed. That's why it's so important for everyone to have regular eye checks with their optometrist, and it's so vital for ophthalmologists to teach optometrists to recognise it. Well, several ophthalmologists reported my lecturing to the college. I was also reported for giving professional education lectures to practicing optometrists in the evenings at my practice in Fortitude Valley, Brisbane. Before long, I was contacted by a college office bearer and warned that if I didn't stop teaching optometrists, I would be fined $30,000 for contravening the college bylaws. I was told my contravention of the college bylaws is deemed to be unprofessional practice by the college, and I would be subsequently reported to the college ethics committee for unethical behaviour. That would mean instant dismissal from the college. So now comes the moral dilemma for me, Robin. Should I do what I know to be right, that is, continuing to teach optometrists, or just blindly obey the college bylaws, which I knew to be wrong? And it seems I was the only fellow of the college at the time that had a problem with this. I knew it was the right thing to do to teach optometrists and optometry students. If all ophthalmologists did this, then it would mean better eye care for all Australians. Isn't that why I became an ophthalmologist in the first place, I thought? It is a self-evident truth. I asked myself, am I a person who just toes the line of the college, or am I willing to resign voluntarily from the college and continue to teach optometrists? I figured that if I resigned from the college, then I wouldn't have to abide by their restrictive and frankly unethical bylaws. They couldn't dismiss me from the college because I would have already left voluntarily. But little did I know in 1995 the consequences of that decision. What were the consequences? What could they do to you? Robin asked. Well, they tried to remove my registration to practice ophthalmology and take away my livelihood. I found out this is a very dangerous move to resign from one's college over an issue of conscience. How did they try to stop you practicing? And why was it such a threat to them? Robin asked. I reflected back on this question. October 1995, Brisbane, Pacific Eye Centre. I was upstairs in my consulting room in Pacific Eye Centre in Fortitude Valley, Brisbane, when a call was put through to me from Canberra. Medical Specialist Registrar here, Dr. Werner. We're just seeing your name on the list for a meeting tonight. The list is a group of doctors that the panel will discuss regarding their removal of specialist registration status. We thought it must be some sort of mistake that you were on the list. Apparently, the College of Ophthalmologists notified us that you are practicing as a specialist without a current fellowship of the College of Ophthalmologists. But we can see that you also have a fellowship of the College of Surgeons, so that will be enough to keep you registered to practice as a specialist in Australia. It must be a mistake to have you on a list to remove your specialist registration. Can you please confirm this? And we will withdraw your name from the list, so you won't even be discussed this evening by the panel. It's obviously an error. I couldn't believe it, Robin, I said. The College of Ophthalmologists was trying to get me struck off the specialist register to punish me for resigning voluntarily from the college because it was an embarrassment for them. They also reported me to the Professional Review Committee, or PRC, of the Health Insurance Commission, or known as the HIC. I was intensely investigated for 2 years because the college had told them there were accusations against me that I was paying optometrists for referrals and over-servicing. Of course, the PRC found no evidence of this during their inquiries. My phones were tapped, both at my office and home, and my mobile phone. Secret recordings were made of patient consultations, even going to the extent of sending in dummy patients or secret shoppers to try and catch me at over-servicing and incorrect billing. The PRC started a Medicare audit of my referrals. Staff from the PRC visited and interviewed my top referring optometrists and told them I was being audited. The PRC asked each optometrist if they were being paid for referrals. The result of this was that the referring optometrists stopped referring patients to me for fear of getting an audit themselves. The HIC went to the extent of sending a fake staff member to be employed by my practice for 3 months to infiltrate my practice and photocopy patient records and send them to the HIC for examination. There was even a break-in to my eye centre over the Easter weekend of 1996 when nothing was stolen except evidence of photocopied patient records. I only found out later that the HIC investigation was responsible for this and all the other events that happened over that 2-year period. I requested a Freedom of Information document regarding the full HIC investigation once it was all over. It was an enormous file of papers documenting these events. The conclusion of this investigation found no evidence of any wrongdoing and thus closed the inquiry. But my professional reputation was in tatters after this. An ABC documentary called Too Much Medicine filmed at my practice, where they implied that I was over-servicing, but they could not produce a shred of evidence to back up these accusations. There were rumours and innuendos travelling all over the country at clinical meetings about the shocking, unethical behaviour of Dr. Werner and that she was being investigated by the Health Insurance Commission. Where there's smoke, there's fire, they say. Particularly colleagues and other ophthalmologists who didn't know me and had only heard that I was being investigated were sure I was guilty of unethical behaviour. I also suffered in other more subtle ways, like being ignored at clinical conferences by my fellow ophthalmologists. Sometimes I would go up to a group of my colleagues at the coffee break in a meeting, and they would literally turn their backs on me and then continue talking as if I wasn't there. I definitely realised I had become persona non grata following my voluntary resignation as a fellow of the college. Did anything change regarding the bylaws after you resigned, Alice? Robin said. Well, that's the good part, Robin. Within a month of my resignation, the college decided to abolish the bylaw regarding the teaching of optometrists. They removed Bylaw 7 and subsequently revamped the whole college constitution. This meant all ophthalmologists could now teach optometry students and optometrists. So you really had your Rosa Parks moment then, Robin said. Because you resigned, you changed everything regarding education of optometrists by ophthalmologists, which arguably improved eye care delivery for everyone in Australia. Robin was right. Things had improved, and I was very pleased about that. But even though I wrote to the college every year for 7 years after the bylaws were scrapped, requesting to rejoin, every one of those letters went unanswered. It was only in 2002, when I moved back to Melbourne, where I had originally trained in ophthalmology, that 2 of my Melbourne colleagues wrote to the college recommending that I be re-awarded my fellowship. So I am one of the very few people that have 2 fellowships of the College of Ophthalmologists, one awarded in 1986 and the second awarded in 2002. There was no fanfare though when I was re-awarded in 2002. It was not even noted. I just received my fellowship certificate along with all the other newly minted fellows for that year, just as if I had only passed the final exams recently, yet I had been practicing as a specialist ophthalmologist for 16 years by that time. No one ever asked me why I was getting awarded my fellowship again in 2002. It was just all hushed up. I think it was an embarrassing part of the college's history that they would like to forget and sweep under the rug, so to speak. I learned that there is always a price to pay when we stand by our principles, and the price that is paid is often either ignored or simply forgotten. The only thing that remains for the scapegoat is the knowledge that they did the right thing at the time. That's the end of the story. Thanks for listening, and I hope that you can find peace and joy in something that you do today. Thank you.